Hello, I'm David Guida, and this blog that you're watching is for a course I'm taking at Seton Hall University entitled Culture, Community, and Schools. This blog today is mainly going to focus on the topic of the changing demographics of the United States and what that means for us as teachers of the future, how we're going to have to adapt the educational system that is currently in place in the United States in order to accommodate the changing demographics of this vastly changing country of the United States. Chapter 1 notes that by the year 2020, students from diverse cultural groups will comprise of over half of the elementary and secondary school populations. This is a departure from what many people consider to be the norm in American schools. The white population tends to outnumber the minorities in every single school at the moment. This is going to start changing. Whites are no longer going to be the majority in the schools. There's going to be more and more minorities, Asians, Hispanics, blacks, entering the classroom. Great changes are going to have to be made in order to accommodate these students and serve this next generation of students so that we can maintain our level of education that is admired around the world. Because we do have a pretty solid education system that produces very smart individuals. But things are going to have to change, clearly. At the moment, one of the most hot-button topics is the idea of the performance gap, where the white students are definitely outperforming the minority students, specifically the Hispanic students and the black students. With the numbers of these students increasing, something obviously has to be done, because we can't have an education system where it's not all the white people outnumbering all the other minorities, as awful as it sounds, but it'll wind up just bringing down the whole education system. So we need to figure out how to provide an education to every single race, every single culture, in order to serve them the best so they can gain the most from the education that they're getting. And this starts with the teachers, I personally definitely think. I don't think that there's any way you can have a teacher who's prejudiced or has prejudiced thoughts give a class to students who are minorities and expect the same from those students. Every teacher needs to have a clear mind that any student can perform as well as any other student. And I think that this mentality may be shifting in recent years, but I feel like definitely for a while, the minority students, in my experience, were definitely expected to not perform up to par with a lot of the white students. And honestly, that's an awful thing that needs to be corrected. But at the same time, race isn't the only thing. Sexual orientation needs to be looked at, socioeconomic status, religion. Those are all factors that are part of people's cultures that affect how they learn in the classroom. Every teacher, I firmly believe, needs to know how to work with these students in order to forge relationships with them so they can be as successful as they're supposed to be and any other student can possibly be. One way to definitely do this is to allow more of a multicultural education, which is an educational strategy in which students' cultures are used to develop effective classroom interactions and a different school system. So the school culture needs to be more accepting of different races and cultures as a whole. Once we can work the different cultures into the school and make the whole school accepting, the school environment is going to allow the students to work so much better and perform at a higher level if the expectations are there and they genuinely feel comfortable in the school. I believe that if somebody feels comfortable, they're more apt to want to do better. That's personally how I feel. So clearly this performance gap needs to be eliminated. It needs to be eliminated for races. It needs to be eliminated for students with disabilities. That's another big thing, the disability gap. There needs to be something done in order to make sure that all students are getting an education. And as weird as it sounds, disability is part of your culture. If you have a disability, you're not going to be able to work in society necessarily all the time as other people do, because you have things that you need to work to overcompensate for. So that's going to be part of your culture. My whole thing is, if the school culture can be more accepting and more open and expect everybody to perform at the same level, granted, there are going to be exceptions, but you can't generalize things. You need to eliminate stereotypes and eliminate prejudices in the classroom. Once a teacher can do this, it's going to be a more happy, helpful environment for all students. Multiculturalism will help to do this, allowing cultural hints to be part of the huge school of the whole school culture will help the students to feel more comfortable. I know for me in my classroom, not that it's difficult for a math teacher to be as open-minded and accepting to students, but it's harder to convey those ideas in the classroom because you don't really get on discussions of race or whatever. But there are things that I can do in order to make sure that I am reaching every student in the most effective way. I can understand what cultures they come from. I can see where they want to go in life, where their culture sees them going. Taking this, I can know that and show them how to apply mathematics, how it's going to be important to them. And I think that's really important, and it will help them want to be more interested in math. And same thing with special education. With the special ed students, you need to work their culture, work the school to accept that disability is part of a culture and that it's something that needs to be overcome and worked with. But they can perform at the level of other students. They may need extra help, but they can. So I think that multicultural education will be part of my classroom because I will genuinely be very accepting of all students. And that's all I can do. I need to show them and work with their cultures and know who they are as people to help them to want to learn. That's the bottom line. I need to get to know them and see how my content is going to fit into their lives. What excites me about diversity in the classroom is that it allows you to get so many different perspectives. You're not just getting one perspective. You're getting the perspectives of somebody who may be black, who may be Asian, who may be gay, who may be poor, who may be rich, who may be Jewish, who may be Islamic. The range is going to be so much further expanded that it's going to be interesting because it's no longer going to be one-dimensional. With so many more people, people are going to be more apt to express their opinions, and I think that's great. Genuinely, what concerns me is the fact that I come from a very white, rich town. Granted, I'd love to go back and teach there, but it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different. There's going to be more diversity. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to reach every student to the highest level, which I really want to. I want to be able to make every student interested in what I'm teaching, whether that be math or special ed. So, I mean, that's what scares me. Like, I want to be able to help all students, and I'm just afraid I won't be able to do that. But, I mean, hopefully learning everything I'm learning, this is going to help me reach out to every student and touch their lives in the most effective way. I mean, that's all a teacher can really try to do. I really hope that you enjoyed this blog. I hope I gave you some good information, and I'll see you guys for the next blog. Have a good day.